Hey, Tim Marks, I just want to talk to you just for a couple minutes about something coming up May 19th through the 21st, which I believe is actually the biggest event ever for our company, including the launch. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, but we've been putting some details together and all that. We are ready to tell you that this is bigger than the Physics MD launch. This is bigger than the Blue Pay launch. We are going to be talking about the direction of our company and how, as Jack Ma says, we understand that the money to be made in technology, all that's pretty much settled in and over. Now the money to be made is business to business, helping other people make money by owning a business. So we're going to talk about that and what that means in your life. I really believe, I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say this, this is like being 1965, 1967, something like that, and you had the opportunity to be in on ABC, NBC, CBS, something like that. This is a big deal. You do not want to miss this big game. Get your ticket to go. Again, it's May 19th through 21st in St. Louis. You can direct message me and I'll make sure you get hooked up with a ticket, okay? If you don't go, I don't know what to tell you, really. It reminds me of the parable of the touchstone. Some of you hear the word touchstone, you think touchstone pitchers. The parable of the touchstone basically goes like this, and I want to leave you with this. About 1,000 years ago, Alexandria, Egypt, I guess, the library burned down and they lost all their books. It was a massive tragedy because books were so valuable back then, of course, and still are today. So they lost all their books. There was one book left, and a poor man walked up to the scene where the library had burnt down, and there was only one book left. He'd never owned a book before, and he said, I'd like to buy that book. So for a few pieces of copper, he throws him the few pieces of copper, he buys the book, which was really worth nothing in the big scheme of things. However, through that book, there was a story written about a rock, a stone called the touchstone. The story goes, the touchstone has very special powers. When you take it and touch it to any kind of a piece of metal, it will turn that metal to gold. So obviously it's priceless. You have this touchstone, you own the world. So this guy gives a few pieces of copper, buys a touchstone, and he comes up with a plan to go find it. And story is told that this touchstone can only be found amongst the other stones that are on the side of the Red Sea. So on the whole beach of the Red Sea, unfortunately, is stones, pebbles. And so he was going to go find it. So he bought some simple supplies and he went and boom, off to the races he goes. He's out to the beach and he figures it'll take me a few hours to find this stone. What they said was, all stones feel cold. When you find the touchstone, it'll be warm to the touch, very warm, and it has a lifelike quality. You can't mistake it. And I think that's just like our business. Back to the story. So he starts grabbing these stones and figuring out, and they all look the same. He's trying to figure out, how can I not double handle all these? So what he does, instead of stacking them in piles and sorting them, he comes up with a method. He says, I'm just going to grab the stone. If it feels cold, I'll throw it in the sea. Grab the stone, feels cold, throw it in the sea. Cold, throw it in the sea. Cold, throw it in the sea. And he does this for hour after hour, day after day. Cold, throw it in the sea. Cold, throw it in the sea. Cold, throw it in the sea. Year after year. Finally, he's an old man. After decades of doing this, he's physically deformed and back is all messed up. And he goes out there again. He's thinking, man, my life amounted to nothing. I put so much time and effort in this, and I don't know if I'll ever make it. I've spent time away from my family. I invested. And now you're telling me, reading this book again, and it's telling him about how the touchstone, if you just touch it to any piece of metal, it'll turn to gold. He goes back to work all hunched over, feels it cold, throws it in the sea. Feels it cold, throws it in the sea. Feels it cold, throws it in the sea. Feels it warm, throws it in the sea. He had been conditioned so much to do the same thing over and over, and his expectation was such, I've seen stones before. And he missed it. You've seen businesses before. Let me tell you, you've not seen anything like this. This is what we've been dreaming about for not years, not months, over a decade, almost 2 decades now. This has been cooking in some of our minds. You add up all of our thinking together, a lot of years. We've come up with this idea that we're landed on May 19th through the 21st. You don't want to miss it. It's bigger than anything we've ever done in this company. May 19th through the 21st, this is bigger than anything, in my opinion, we've ever done with this company. Make sure you don't miss the touchstone. After all the time you spent throwing pebbles from the beach into the sea, now's your time to grab your touchstone and feel how lifelike it is. We'll see you in St. Louis.